back to the Oracle Sports Desk. I'm your host, Tyler Payne, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about some Week 5 college football predictions. We're going to go ahead and start with Oklahoma State at Kansas State. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one only because both teams are needing a bounce-back game after what happened the past weekend. I'm going to take Oklahoma State because they have Ollie Gordon and Kansas State does not. Interestingly, Ollie Gordon's not really been effective as I thought he would be. I thought he would be a Heisman contender up to this point. That's kind of been more Ashton Jeanty than anybody else from Boise State. I do think, though, with Avery Johnson at Kansas State, I don't think he has a lot of talent around him. That's the only thing that I don't like about Kansas State. They have a good quarterback, but they don't have anybody around him to help uplift that football team. So give me the Cowboys in that one. Moving on to the SEC, I'm going to do Oklahoma over Auburn. I think both teams are desperately needing a win right now. With everything that's been coming out about Hugh Freeze and everything that he's been saying about his players, he desperately needs a win. It's at home for him in the Plains. However, I just think Oklahoma's defense is just too much for Auburn to be able to handle. They played Tennessee pretty close at the end of the game on Saturday. Their defense looked really good. I'm taking the Sooners in this one for sure. Moving on into Ole Miss and Kentucky. If this was a home game for Kentucky, I might give them a chance. Ole Miss, it's at home for them. It's in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, so give me the Rebels by, I'll say 20. To put it into perspective, Lane Kiffin has been making TikToks with his daughter this week, so I don't think he's too worried about the Wildcats coming up this weekend. So give me Ole Miss in that one for sure. Moving on into Texas A&M and Arkansas. This one's really interesting to me because I really like what I've seen from Arkansas so far. I know they dropped that one game earlier in the season that they shouldn't have lost, but other than that, Taylor Green for Arkansas looks pretty efficient. I think the Razorbacks are just a little bit more motivated this year than they were in the previous years. It's a very important game for both Sam Pittman and first-year head coach Mike Elko on Texas A&M's side. I'm going to take the Aggies barely. I think their defense is really good, and I don't have enough confidence in Sam Pittman and the Arkansas Razorback program to be consistent. If they could be consistent and play like they have so far this season, I would take them, but this one's going to be a close one. Give me the Aggies. Staying in the SEC, let's do the game of the week. Give me Georgia and Alabama. I've thought long and hard about this one, and I don't really know which way I'm going to go. Yes, I do. Give me the Bulldogs. I'm taking Georgia because I understand what they did last week in Lexington, Kentucky. I understand that their offense looked very lackluster. Here's the thing about it, though. They do this every year. Georgia does this every single year. There's always that one game where you're like, Georgia's vulnerable this year, and then they play somebody in Sanford Stadium at night, and they beat them by 100 points. So I don't buy into the negative hype around Georgia right now. I think the fact that they are number 2 in the country and not number 1, they got moved back. The fact that they've had a bye week, I understand Alabama has a bye week as well. I just think Georgia's just going to have too much for Alabama talent-wise, and I think they're going to physically overcome them late in the fourth quarter. I do think Alabama can keep up with them offensively, and it is in Tuscaloosa, so that's a tough environment to play in. But overall, I'm going to have to take Georgia in that one. Moving on into the Big Ten, Penn State and Illinois. This one's really interesting as well. I'm taking Penn State because I just think they have a little bit more talent than that Illinois team does. I've really liked what I've seen so far from Illinois and quarterback Luke Altmaier. They've looked really solid so far. I'm tempted to pick them to upset Penn State, but Penn State's looked pretty solid this year, as they always do. We'll see what happens when they actually get into real Big Ten football with Ohio State and others. But I'm taking Penn State in this one for sure. Like I said, the Illini have looked solid. They played Nebraska last week, and I think Nebraska's a pretty good football team, and they were able to outlast them. So I could see this one going either way, but in the end, I'm going to take the Nittany Lions. That's all the time we have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 2 of the Oracle Sports Desk. As always, I'm your host, Tyler Payne.